Hi, everybody. I'm going to talk to you today about professional networking and what we are doing for the IPP Demonstration Sites project. So, what is professional networking? Essentially, professional networking uses social network analysis and is useful for understanding, monitoring, influencing, or evaluating the implementation process when programs or policies or practices like the inclusionary practices that you all are using are being designed and scaled up or adapted or adopted into different settings. So, why is this important? Well, the social network analysis allows us to understand the professional learning community among the demonstration sites and beyond. So, who else are you connected to across Washington state? There are several social processes that are necessary in getting programs adopted, implemented, and sustained. For one, we need to understand the partnerships between researchers, community, policymakers, and practitioners that support implementation. We also need to understand how the intervention agent, so who is actually doing the inclusionary practices, or the implementation agents who's supporting the implementation of those inclusionary practices, or the intermediaries who's facilitating the exploration or the actual implementation and sustainment of those practices, how they are connected, as well as the social context of how people receive the program within the school. So we asked 5 questions in our professional networking survey. One, we asked, what school sites have you visited as part of the demonstration study? We also asked what school sites have visited you as part of the demonstration study to understand who's coming to you. And when we say visited, these are virtual visits, of course, in our current climate. We also asked about what school sites have shared materials, resources, artifacts, or information about inclusionary practices with you. So again, this network of materials and resources that we can distribute and share across our region. We also asked about what school sites have you communicated with to learn more about inclusionary practice, to look at that communication piece, as well as with whom have you shared materials, resources, artifacts, or information about inclusionary practices. So this is an example of what a coded social network map or professional networking map looks like. So for the first question, what school sites have you visited as part of the demonstration study? These are our first 11 schools. The bright blue circles are what we would call in degrees. That's how many times you were nominated as a school. And the yellowish beige-ish dots or circles are your out degrees or schools that the number of schools that you nominated. So we're looking at the size of these circles to figure out if you're a big nominating school site or are you a smaller nominating school site. So the bigger your circle, the more times that you were nominated, as well as for the blue, the beige circle, the bigger the circle, it's how big or how many schools that you nominated. So we can also tell the in degrees are also represented in the parentheses by the number next to the school name. So in this particular case, Mark Twain was nominated twice. We also can look at the connections. And so the lines that are coming out of the school name are your connections. And this is a two-way street. So it's not clear from a map if, McMicken is nominating Mark Twain or Mark Twain is nominating McMicken, but those schools are connected from the survey data. And so we can look at the size of the nodes, we can look at the number of connections, we can look at where there are some connections that are missing. So for example, Clovis Point has 0 in degrees at baseline. This is again at the start of the school year, but they are connected to Toppenish. So it looks like this direction is Clovis Point nominating Toppenish. So how are we using these data? Well, we're really trying to understand the map and the picture of our schools and how they're connected. So our goal is to really build connections with one another. So where can we continue to foster relationships and build connections with school sites among our demonstration projects? We also want to look at how we can share resources with one another. So if there are sites that are, actively sharing resources, how do we get other sites to also actively share resources? We can measure our reach across the state. How many other school sites that are not part of our demonstration study are we reaching, which is not reflected in the survey that you see here. I'm sorry, not reflected in the map that you see here. We also use these data to guide our consultation to really tailor that decision making based on what the data are telling us. I hope this has been helpful to you, and I'm super happy to answer any questions that you might have about your individual school or about the process in general. Thank you.